That is CGM. So why is this a game changer? Because you can wear this and see in real time which carbohydrate would work best for you, so you know that you could essentially and possibly have more of it. Sleep and your heart rate variability are two data points that you should follow if you're trying to build muscle or burn fat. If you look at a lot of artificial light that's around us, it's flickering. Okay, that flicker can raise your cortisol levels to keep you alert, to keep you awake. And you do want some of that flicker or light during the day, but in the evening, we don't need it. We're trying to release melatonin, oxytocin, serotonin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Chris Getting Podcast. So today we're going to talk about muscle building biohacks that you need to build the ultimate physique in 2025. So we're going to be talking about your muscle building game and pushing it to the next level. And if you're looking to build the ultimate physique in 2025, you just cannot rely on the same old approaches, especially if you've hit a plateau. You need to work smarter and not harder. And that's why I'm sharing 5 muscle building biohacks that are absolute game changers. Let me get it out. So these aren't gimmicks. They're strategies that I've refined over years of training, coaching, and biohacking my own body. From optimizing recovery to dialing in nutrition and training for maximum efficiency, we're going to cover it all. So if you're ready to push your limits and build muscle in a healthier, more effective way than ever before, stick around. You're not going to want to miss this. So I'm going to go through various biohacks here. I'll go through 5 of them, actually, to give you a little bit of information, because when people think of muscle building, they don't usually think of these biohacks. The first thing they think of is how hard they're training, how heavy they're training, nutrition, sleep, hydration, etc. But there's a lot more to it. And we have today's technology that we can combine with our plans to really help us break those plateaus. So let's talk about number 1, biohack number 1. That is CGM. So that's a 24-hour blood glucose monitor. I used this from 2017. It was very, very early days when it came to CGMs. You just couldn't get them anywhere. They cost me over $500, I think. Insurance wouldn't pay for them. Now they are much more readily available and a lot cheaper. And they're absolutely phenomenal. So a CGM is basically something that you'd place like on your shoulder or on your waistline, and it has a very, very small needle that is obviously tracking your blood and your blood glucose. Okay, you don't feel it go in. It's a quick punch, and that's it. And you'd wear it for about 7 to 10 days, and then you'd have to replace it and put in another one. And what I did, I used this for about a year. I've used a CGM several times since then, but I used it for about a year just to garner as much data as I possibly could to see what was the perfect macros for me that didn't give me too much of a blood sugar spike. Because as we know, if you have too many blood sugar spikes and too high of blood sugar spikes consistently, that can cause insulin resistance. And now your muscles, your cell is not absorbing all the carbohydrates that it possibly could to be utilized for strength, for energy, recovery, etc. Okay, so a CGM, it's absolutely phenomenal. So why is this a game changer? Because you can wear this and see in real time how your body is responding to, say, rice compared to potatoes, compared to oats, how your body is going to respond to oats compared to quick oats. So, that was one of the things that was really shocking to me. Because when I was traveling, I would have quick oats a lot of the time because it'd be easy for me to put in my shaker, add a couple of scoops of grass-fed whey isolate, and knock it back, or just mix it in a bowl. And what I noticed every time that I had quick oats, I would get a real big spike compared to rolled oats. And then I thought, well, let me just try it with oat milk. I wasn't drinking oat milk, but I tried it, and then I got an even bigger spike, which goes to show that the more that you grind that grain down, as it were, into a smaller grain or into a liquid, you'd get a bigger spike. Same as if I had, let's say, almonds. compared to almond flour. I would get a spike off almond flour, which I wouldn't from almonds or almond butter. So, you can test these things so you can see which carbohydrate would work best for you, so you know that you could essentially and possibly have more of it. If you get a massive spike from it, then maybe you eradicate it altogether. So it's really good. And I noticed if I had an ice bath first thing in the morning, upon waking, then my blood sugar levels was more stable throughout the day. Emotionally, I felt more stable, but I couldn't track that as much as just seeing the data points and that quantification from the CGM. And if I took a supplement such as GD8 from Biostack Labs about 15 minutes before a carb heavy meal, I noticed that it had reduced my blood sugar spike by about 10 points. So I thought, okay, this works. I'm going to start taking those supplements more often, especially on a heavier carb meal. So, there's a lot of data points that you can take from that. But I would suggest that, the protocol would be you wear it, you eat the exact same thing for several days, maybe a week, and then swap those carb sources and maybe look at, okay, if I have the carbohydrates first off my plate and then eat my vegetables and then eat my fats and then eat my proteins, what does that blood sugar look like? And then have those exact same macros, but in a different order. Maybe have the fiber first, your vegetables, your salad, etc. Then your protein, and then maybe your fats and your carbohydrates last, and see how that differs with you. So you can get a lot of great quantification and data points that you can apply when you're trying to build muscle, when you're trying to burn fat, when you're trying to increase your performance. If you're feeling fatigued, maybe you've got a blood sugar crash. How can you prevent that crash? Well, you can look at what's created that spike and so on and so forth. So I think that's a phenomenal biohack of utilizing today's technology for us to break through plateaus and make better food choices. Because a lot of the time we may see a food that is on the shelves and it's marketed as really healthy, low in carbohydrates or whatever, but it still may give you a massive spike because of the toxicity that is in it. Is vegetable oil going to give you a spike over olive oil, etc.? You can test it out for yourself. So there's a few companies out there. NutriSense is a company that I use. If you want any discount codes, you can send me a message. Biohack number 2, sleep. Sleep and HRV is something that you should be tracking. So I would suggest a sleep and HRV tracker. Okay. You can obviously measure your steps and all those things as well, your heart rate, etc. But I think sleep and your heart rate variability are 2 data points that you should follow if you're trying to build muscle or burn fat, for instance. So if you are to check your sleep, so I use an Aura ring or an ultra human ring. I like the Ultra Human because I'm able to use the CGM as well. So that's another CGM that I really, really like. So again, I can give you a discount link for that. But what I like is that you have this app that cross-pollinates the data from your CGM to your ring. You can also do blood tests through those guys as well now, even more so. You can cross-pollinate these data points. But when I'm measuring with a ring, I'm looking at my heart rate variability. So if that heart rate variability is tanking, then I know that I'm not recovered. Maybe I'm stressed. Maybe I'm not sleeping well. Maybe the environment that I'm in. I've been traveling a lot, and my HRV is tanked. That's going to tell me, okay, I'm not fully recovered. I'm not going to train really heavy. Maybe I'm going to take a day off, or maybe I'm just going to swap the free weights and the heavy weights for lighter weights, more intensity, more cables, more machines, etc. Same with the sleep. I want to ensure that I'm getting an adequate amount of REM and deep sleep, quality sleep, not just quantity. And I noticed if I go to bed a couple of hours earlier, so let's say if I'm going to bed 8 o'clock compared to 10 o'clock, then I find it greatly impacts my sleep. So that's why I go to bed around 7:30 and I'll read for about 30 minutes and then go to sleep. And I find that really, really helps with the quality of my sleep. And I always say, your recovery dictates your performance, not just from a physical aspect, from a cognitive aspect as well. So it's essential that you focus on your sleep. So my experience has been, like I was diagnosed with mold toxicity in 2014. 14. So I've done whatever I can to hack my sleep. I've been able to do that now, but only through quantification. And I really like having the rings because you can switch off the Bluetooth. So you're not getting penetrated with Bluetooth 24/7. It will continue to track. You just need to switch it on for like 30 minutes or so every 24 hours just to download the data and off you pop. And of course, I like to track the steps to see how many steps I'm getting throughout the day as well, which can stabilize your blood sugar levels even more. Let's look at biohack number 3. It is blood tests and DNA tests. So I like to get my online clients to do these, particularly my VIP plus clients. I'll get them to do biological age tests, DNA, and blood tests. Now, the blood and DNA is what we're going to focus on now. So the blood test is going to tell you a lot. It's like, taking your car for a service. It runs through the diagnostics and you see what's wrong with it, what needs replaced, what needs tuning, what needs upgrading, etc. It's the same with you. You can see where your deficiencies are. Is your estrogen, progesterone, your testosterone levels out of whack? Is your vitamin D low? Are your inflammatory markers high? Has your thyroid downregulated? Whatever it may be, we can see those deficiencies. And then you can change your nutrition or your supplementation accordingly to fill in the gaps of those deficiencies. Okay, so there's a lot that can be done there. And it's the same with the DNA. The DNA, like I like to use the self decode. There's plenty of DNA tests out there. If I'm in India, maybe it's map my genome. There's a lot of DNA tests out there. There's a lot of bad ones, but there's some good ones out there as well. And Joe Cohen, who owns Self Decode, has really, really worked tirelessly to get that test finely tuned, and that's generally what I will use. That DNA test will actually tell you specifically, again, what your body is accustomed to when it comes to nutrition, medication, supplementation, if you're methylating well, your recovery habits, if you're more attuned to higher repetitions, lower repetitions. Are you more DNA? Is your DNA more inclined to have cravings, to be fatigued, to have prostate cancer? All of these markers, I really like to combine these, the blood with the DNA test, because you can upload your blood into the Self Decode app, where again, it will then spit out all the data that it's gained from the DNA and from your blood test. And you can put in your blood test from like 7-8 years ago. That's exactly what I've done. So it really helps you see a graph and where you can optimize things. A lot of people like their Nintendos or gamification. That is my type of gamification that I really like to see how I can finely tune my health span. And once I do, usually physically, it's easier for me to pack on muscle or burn fat or increase my performance because I've optimized the engine. We always look at the body. So if you look at the body of a car, if you polish it up and if it looks great, it doesn't mean that the engine is finely tuned and it's not going to go any faster. You have to optimize the engine first, and then you can polish the outside and it'll make sense. Okay. So let's look at the next biohack. Biohack number 4, we're up to blocking blue light and using red light. Now, again, people may think this is a bit woo-woo. This is Chris's time to put on his tinfoil hat. Now, if you look at a lot of artificial light that's around us, it's flickering. Okay, that flicker can raise your cortisol levels to keep you alert, to keep you awake. And you do want some of that flicker or light during the day because you need a little bit of cortisol to keep you alert. But in the evening, we don't need it. We're trying to release melatonin, oxytocin, serotonin. You can't do that if you're releasing cortisol, or you can't do it as efficiently. You see so many people out there knocking back melatonin to try to sleep, while their body's probably not producing enough melatonin. And of course, as we get older, we don't produce as much anyway. So maybe you do need to supplement, but always look at the root cause. If you can block some of the blue light, if I'm under harsh light during the day, maybe in the gym, I'm on the bench press, I'm looking at the strip lights, it's going to be harsh. I'll wear my yellow lens blue light blocking glasses from Raw Optics. The reason why I use Raw Optics is because the science and the research that they've done, and with optometrists, are really, really good. Really, really good. So there's a lot of blue light blocking glasses out there. The vast majority of them that you're going to find online or find on Amazon, for instance, are crap. They're crap. So I use and suggest Raw Optics. There's some other good brands out there as well. You don't have to get them, but I'll wear the yellow lens throughout the day. Now, if you are on a computer and you have to look at colors, you're a creative designer, whatever, then the see-through lens that will block some of that blue light. Not as much as the yellow, but enough. And then in the evening, for about an hour to 2 hours before bed, if you are exposed to artificial lights from your phone, your device, from your light bulbs, your TV, your computer, etc., wear the red lens to block all of that flicker and that harsh blue light. So you can release melatonin, and obviously you can put on muscle. And then the other thing that I mentioned was red light. So we have the restorative red frequencies that we can get from the sun early in the morning at sunrise or at sunset. It's winter here in Boise. I'm not going to get that. So I use red light panels during this time. So I have a full body red light panel. I will be naked under that. Of course, I'm not going to sunbathe naked. I can, but I'm not going to in the summer. So it's more efficient for me to use a biohack. Now I'll be naked because I want it on my nuts as well, because I know that I can help optimize testosterone production and growth hormone production by being exposed to that artificial light. You could just have a little panel. You could use like the LumaFlex or anything like that and just put it over your nuts if you want. But I like to have the full body panel. The reason being, it's great for setting my circadian rhythm, help me with sleep, and it's great for collagen production to help my skin look young, not just on my face, but on my entire body. So you could look at those two. So that protocol would be using that like 15 minutes every day. Okay, you could use that in the morning, I like to do, or in the evening. That's absolutely fine. So let's go on to number 5. This is our final biohack, by the way. Could be going on for hours, but that is ice baths. Now, you could use sauna and ice baths, but ice baths have to be in there as well. So I like contrast therapy, sauna and ice. Sauna, the red light, I use the infrared sauna. That does help, again, optimize growth hormone production. Ice baths now, more and more research is showing that it can drastically increase your testosterone levels, particularly for people who have very, very low testosterone levels or an older population. So if you follow Thomas, who owns Morozco Forge, that's the ice bath that I use. He's putting out a lot more research on that and showing proof and data points and blood reports to show that. Okay, so 3 minutes in an ice bath every day, every morning, or at least 5 days a week is phenomenal for your testosterone levels. So I like to do it about 3 minutes in the morning. If I have time, if I can be bothered, I'll do it for about a minute in the late afternoon or evening. And of course, if I'm traveling, then it's, cold showers, but anything like that can help optimize your testosterone levels. So you've got quite a lot there that you can protocol, So let's look at number 1. We've got number 1, that's wearing a CGM. Wear that to take your data points and see where your blood sugar spikes and and when. So I guarantee if you spent a week going to bed at, say, midnight, and then spent a week going to bed at like 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, then your insulin resistance and your spikes are going to be much higher, or likely to be much higher, if you go to bed late, because that causes more insulin resistance. Okay, so really try to stay in that parasympathetic state throughout the day, meditate, earth, ground, do all that hippie stuff, but make sure that you go to bed early. But using that CGM will give you the data points needed to customize the program for you. And that's what I do with a lot of my clients. And then number 2, we have a sleep and HRV tracker, measure our heart rate variability and sleep to ensure that we're recovering, because that will dictate the performance in order for you to hit those heavy compound movements hard to increase your testosterone levels and obviously to build muscle. Number 3 was the blood and DNA test. So you can combine these two and see where your deficiencies are and where you can fill those gaps to optimize that internal engine so the outside body can look exactly how you've envisioned it. And then number 4, we have the blue light blocking glasses and using the red light. So the blue light blocking glasses, specifically the red lens a couple of hours before bed, or if you're in a harsh environment, let's say if you work in an office, then you'd want the yellows or clear lens if you need to see colors on the screen. And then red light therapy every single day. If you can do it 5 days a week, great, but try to do it every day where you are obviously got that for those guys out there to, you've got the red light shining on your balls, but you've got the full body panel if possible. If not, you've just got something like a Lumaflex. If you need any discount codes for any red lights, like that, give me a holler. But I can give you some right now, actually. So for Ra Optics, which is the blue light blocking glasses, that is raoptics.com. Use the code GETHIN for 15% off. And then BioLight, that does all the red light panels. They do the small panels, they do the larger panels. They've got a phenomenal bundle for about $1,200, I think, where you get little panels, you get larger panels, you get all sorts in there. And that is BioLight, BioLight .shop. That's the website. And use the code Chris10 to get 10% off. All right. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me today. If you like this episode, please do like, comment, and subscribe, and share with someone else that you feel who could benefit from this. And of course, we are on all podcast platforms, but you can also find it on the Chris Gethin podcast YouTube, should you want to watch these episodes. So thank you very much. Until next time, we are out.